Live. Yes, people. Yeah, I wanted to come on a little bit earlier just to explain what's going on pretty much. First and foremost, yeah, welcome to what is Tribe Talk. For me, it's been the beginning of a project that I've wanted to do for quite some time. Probably even before podcasts and interviews and stuff became quite popular. So yeah, it's kind of almost one project that's been years in the making. So yeah, welcome. Through these talks, which I'll be hosting every weekend, obviously the plan is just to inspire as well as learn and grow, and hopefully give you an opportunity to almost gain access to people that you wouldn't have access to normally. And hopefully learn from individuals, sporting related, coaches, athletes, anything athlete related. So I'll be hosting these every weekend with a different individual every weekend. And the plan going forward from there, after obviously quarantine is finished and everything, hopefully I can move all of these lives onto YouTube and podcasts and official things. My plan is to obviously supply people with knowledge so they can actually not only hear it but see it. So I want to actually be able to get in a room with someone and do these interviews one-to-one. So the viewers can actually see the person as well as hearing it. So thank you for joining, for all the people that have joined already. I'm just waiting for Bobby to come in now. One sec. Also this whole interview, this whole talk will be probably posted tomorrow on the page, if not probably on YouTube as well. So without further ado, let's actually get the guest on right now. One sec. So Bobby is in the chat right now, just waiting. Cool. Yes.
How you doing, brother? You alright?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Looking like brothers out here.
I know, look, big gang. Everything, hat on, everything, innit?
Mate, this is, say no more.
It's that time right about now. It's like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
How you been though? How's lockdown treating you?
You know what? Probably better than expected,
Yeah.
Obviously everyone's in panic. They don't know what to do, how to react, But, I think the way forward is just to take each day as it comes,
Yeah, 100%.
Literally take each day as it comes. Don't even think about what's coming. But yeah, how have you been?
I've been alright. In the beginning, when I realised we were in this for the long haul, I really struggled, because imagine I'm used to being in the gym, working with young people and boxers and one-to-ones every single day, sometimes 2-3 times a day.
Yep.
So that it becomes your life. And when all of a sudden it stops and you're housebound like many other people for months, you got to get used to it. But after a couple of weeks, you learn to adapt. So you just got to. For me, it's like I like to know what's at the end of the tunnel. So this whole thing is like you don't know when you're going to get back to normal as well.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me. Like, do you know what? At least if we had a date, but no one knows when this thing is going to go back to normal. So you just got to take every day as it comes, like you said, and give yourself little goals every single day. Sarah, what's going on, man?
Literally living every day in the moment. pretty much.
Yeah,
You know,
100%,
like
100%.
there's been a lot of like, how do you feel about all these? Like, a lot of people are kind of struggling mentally with this whole process of staying inside, keeping 2 meters away, and having to stay indoors. Like, how have you? What's your opinions on that?
The mental side is probably the hardest side,
Yeah.
because it's a big change for everyone. Life has stopped for many people. So when you go from doing something you love or you're used to every day, and all of a sudden it's taken away, mentally it's going to have an effect on some people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's so important to talk to people. I think that's the number one, is keep connected. Like they're saying in the news and everywhere, is like, talk, keep connected, because that's definitely one way of at least staying sane. Because if you're just locked up in your house, going out for an hour, this doesn't really cut it for most people who've got quite an active mind. So you've got to constantly give yourself small targets as well. I'd say that's another thing to mentally help you, because as athletes especially, they're always used to having something to strive for and having a target and a goal. So all of a sudden, if that's taken away from them as well, it can be worse. So depending on your mindset, set yourself goals, talk to people. That's what's helped me even. And I'm a coach,
Yeah, when it's always hard, especially being a coach myself as well. Like, when there's no light at the end of the tunnel, especially if you're an athlete, when there's nothing to strive for really,
Yeah.
Can be challenging, And I've trained a lot of athletes where, whether through injury and whatever else, there's no real clear light at the end of the tunnel, and that pure passion kind of almost gets you through. But yeah, anyway, going off topic a little bit. Welcome.
Thank you, bro.
If you want to introduce yourself to everyone, because I know some people on here probably don't know who you are. So yeah, who's Bobby? Who is Bobby?
So I'm the head coach of a boxing gym in Brixton, quite a new gym called Afewee Boxing Club, which has been going for just a few years now. So I run that along with my coach volunteers. So what we do is we get young people in the gym from all areas, all backgrounds, and we not only teach them boxing, but we mentor them. We try and give them direction and guidance. We've got a permanent space now in the Brixton Recreation Centre, so we're on bottom level. So we converted an unused space into a boxing gym, which is quite good. So now they've got a hub and a home to come to, because the group of volunteers I work with in Afewee Boxing Club, we're very passionate about the young people of the community. So that was the idea around it really back in 2012, was to build something permanent for them where they can come to and ultimately feel like they've got a place, a home to come to, and not just train boxing, but through the sport of boxing, obviously learn the discipline and the focus that goes with it, because 99% of kids that walk into a boxing gym will never go on to box. That's the reality, because the sport itself is very difficult. So when they come in, we teach them, do you know what? There's other avenues to life. You don't have to go down this route. You can go down the other route. So that's my background. My background is I used to box myself when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
I got into boxing through my uncle, who was an amateur boxer as well. So kind of running the family a little bit there. Went on to do the training, the sparring, had a few bouts, not many. And then in my early 20s, I got into full-time coaching. So I actually started coaching in schools, and I took non-contact boxing programs all around schools across London.
Okay.
And that really taught me a lot, because that was my first encounter working with young people through schools, and introducing the sport to a lot of young people, and then trying to invite them back to the club. So that was my sort of first year or so into the sport. Now, fast forward 5 years later, I'm a competitive coach, so I work with competitive boxers as well, and kids that are just learning boxing for the first time, and we do mentoring programs as well. So we do like a whole load of stuff down the gym now. It's really grown in the last 5 years,
Yeah. Well, I've obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, me and Bobby have worked together in the past. I was doing a strength and conditioning side of stuff for a period of time before I decided to move outside of London. So I've seen some of the progress, obviously, from when Afewee was kind of like a temporary, kind of in a temporary space in like in a communal gym.
Yeah.
to actually developing and actually having like a permanent space within that community center, which was it's amazing to see the progress, you know. Um, but yeah, so I know you mentioned that obviously you were an athlete, you were a boxer before. So what made you want to transition into coaching over being a boxer?
My problem was, and it's the message that I pass on now to a lot of young people, is that I was in and out of sport a lot. So I never really stuck to it. I mean, I was from the age of 13, 14 when I started, it was always in me. Like, I always had a love and a passion for it once I discovered it. But then after that, it was in and out for various reasons, various distractions in life. But when I started the coaching in the schools and I realized the impact it had on young people, and I saw them improving, I saw them learning, not just through boxing, but growing as characters, because it's a character testing sport, boxing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's tough. So when I sort of started realizing that, I thought, you know what, this is my path. This is what I'm meant to do. And the fact of everything that goes along with coaching as well, like, gives you that access to be able to talk to these people, which I feel that I'm able to do, and get a message across that maybe other people may struggle with, such as school teachers or maybe even their parents at home. We're just another avenue where we can talk to them and say, do you know what, champ, listen, there's other ways around this, and there's other routes you can go, and this is what you should be focusing on. And coaching allowed me to do all of that. Plus, obviously, I love the sport and I love coaching the sport. There's the athlete side of it as well. So I coach athletes. In our time that we've been going, we've had 2 national champions, 1 kid box for England. So it's all just kind of happened in the last few years.
Yeah.
And for me, I just realized there's nothing else I'd want to do now.
So it's almost like you thought you wanted to do one thing.
Yeah.
And then you saw the impact that you were having on others, and it kind of overtook everything.
It overtook, yeah. It didn't become just about me or one person. Yeah. I realized, you know what, you can actually influence and potentially shape many other people's lives through this sport. So, yeah, when I realized all that, I knew the coaching side was for me. And you know what? A lot of the times in life, the thing that you end up doing isn't the thing that you actually think you would end up doing.
Of course, 100%.
You start down another path, and then life happens. Life pans out the way it pans out, and you end up switching paths. But when you look back on it, you think, you know what? Even though this is not what I initially thought would happen to me, it's the right thing. And that's just life taking its toll, and life saying to you, you know what? This is what's meant for you. You've got to be happy about it as well. You've got to be passionate about it, but let the process happen naturally as well,
Yeah, it's weird how that happens, right? You have an idea of what you want, but then life is like, you know what? Nah, this is what you're meant to do.
Yeah. A lot of the time, yeah.
The thing is as well, it's a beautiful thing, because it almost comes with a lot of disappointment on the way, because what you think you should be doing and what you should be doing are 2 completely different things. But yeah, moving on. I know we touched on it like as we just as I introduced you. But what are your like thoughts and opinions on the current events, rather than a general overview, like more specific to you? Because obviously there's been kind of like, now people are a bit confused about what they can and can't do. There's been riots in Hyde Park and all that sort of stuff. All that conspiracy and civil rights and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what's your opinion on the whole situation right now?
I think, you know what, there's always the conspiracy theorists out there and that side of it. But you know what, I think, again, going back to life taking its course, just let it happen when it's meant to happen. And I think we got to look at what's happening out there. A lot of people are losing their lives or have lost their lives, and families are suffering. This thing isn't a joke, but at the same time, I think it's getting to the stage where people are feeling like something's got to give, because we're human. We can't be locked up in one place for too long. But at the same time, they're doing it for our best interests. From what they believe is our best interest. So I guess what I've been doing is just listening to the advice. Being sensible. Respecting the people that it has affected, because that's a big thing as well. It's not just about me, it's about who else it's affecting. I may want to get back to work and coaching, and
Yeah.
it's what I love to do, and I can't wait to get back in the gym, and I've got people waiting to train and stuff like that. You know, bear in mind, we had championships coming up, we had tournaments coming up, all of that got stopped because of this. So now it's time to just sit back and say, do you know what, let it happen, let it all come back to normal when it's meant to. And I think if we take that approach as well, it will stop a lot of the anxiety, because people are getting sort of, I guess it does cause anxiety and things like that when you want to rush something, and when you keep trying to figure stuff out and you don't know the answer to it, that can cause other problems. So I think for me, I've just learned to relax, be calm about the situation, hope everyone's keeping as safe as possible, but wait until the right time to get back to normal, because I'm sure it's not that far away. And when we do get back to normal, you know, it's going to be all go, man. You know what it's like. So
yeah, I mean, I think they already announced that personal trainers and coaches can train one person, right?
Yeah.
As long as they're 2 meters away. But another thing I wanted to touch on as well, how do you feel like from your experience as a coach and in life, and just all the lessons you've learned throughout your career, how has that helped you kind of overcome and have because it seems like a real positive attitude on almost a setback to your progress and career, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically how are you overcoming what's happening? How has your life experiences helped you overcome what's going on right now and keep a positive mind frame?
Well, you know what? When things like this happen, unexpected things happen, you can either go one or two ways, depending on, I think, the type of person you are and your life experience. My life experience has always taught me through what I've done through sport is, you know what, when something goes wrong, find another way. And that's the biggest thing that this has taught me, is that even though something has gone wrong and there's people in danger out there, find ways to still do what you need to do. And we're always going to be restricted at times in life, and there's always going to be things that are just out of your control, but there are also things in your control that you can do, that are still going to keep you happy, keep you sane, keep you healthy. And that's what you got to do, focus on the positives rather than the negatives. And that's one big lesson that we teach straight away. If one thing that boxing teaches you straight away, or any combat sport, it's to find a way to make things work, not make excuses, you know, persevere and stuff like that. So that all keeps you in good stead, you know, whether you're an athlete or a coach or just a positive individual. If you've got a positive, because it's not about necessarily having to come from a certain background, it's about what your mindset's like.
Yeah.
You know, when my young people speak to me and they have problems and stuff like that, it's not about necessarily the solution, because they've got the solution in their head, you know. A lot of them are sensible, but it's just them accepting the solution and actually what's going on in their mind. There's other ways and there's other avenues you can explore. So really, for me, that whole side of it has kept me okay, you know. It's kept me positive. Obviously, there's things that I'm always going to be upset about, like, you know, we're on the verge of one of our female boxers, actually, a really talented young girl. She was in a national final, you know, the National Youth Championships.
Yeah.
So she was boxing for the #1 spot at 60 kilograms. And training hard, training went well. She was on a really good roll. I mean, this girl's already done a lot, and she's only 16. And that got taken away. So imagine, now she's taken that experience, and now it's a case of, okay, you were that close, and if she had won, she would have then got picked to box for England in the Tri-Nations tournament. So imagine coming from that as a coach and an athlete, so now it's like, all right, now show me how you're going to come back. And I talked to her. She's still training at home. She's still doing her running. That's a champion mindset. You understand? And that's just one example. So it doesn't matter who you are, or what job you do, or what background you've got. You know, we all got to come back from this. You know what I mean? We've all got to come back with a positive attitude and say, do you know what? I'm going to get another chance, and we're going to get to go again. Things are going to go back to normal. But yeah, to answer your question, it all comes down just to have a bit of a positive mindset and telling yourself things are going to be all right.
Almost like focusing on what you can change, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I think a lot of the time we focus on the problems, or we focus on the problems right in front of us. But sometimes we need to look at the solutions and the positives around it. There's always a a positive to a negative. You know what I mean?
Of course.
That's what's important.
Finding out what it is you can do rather than thinking about what you can't.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? It's easy to fall in that trap. Don't get me wrong. Like, I know I'm just talking about positivity a lot, but for me, it's a massive thing, and it's not easy sometimes. Like, I get days where I get up and I have just shit days. Like, I just feel like, do you know what? I don't want to be in here. Like, I'm not doing what I enjoy. I don't feel good about myself because I like to still train, and a lot of it is restricted right now. So we're all human, but you know what? The point is, I said to myself, as long as you have more good days than bad days, you'll be all right. So you go out, you might go on a bike ride, you might go for a walk. These little things really help. Learning a new skill as well. It's like, all right, I can't focus on my main craft, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and make myself better. So when I do come back, I'm going to be a better coach, you know, better for my people. So my boxers or my athletes or my young people, whoever I work with. So there's a lot you can still do, but it all starts from your mind, you know?
Yeah. I see a lot of people coming in saying like mind over matter and adaptation is key and all that sort of stuff. I think one really big quote that comes to mind is, it's not the strongest or most intelligent, it's the one that can adapt the best, that survives.
100%.
You know?
100%.
Like, just touching on it. So what types of things, so obviously there's things you can and can't do as a coach right now.
Yeah.
What types of things have you been doing to like either further your knowledge or become a better coach in this time, so you can come back and, you know, be better, basically? What sort of things have you been doing?
Well, I've surprised myself with this one a little bit, you know, because I'm normally the sort of person where I'm at the gym all day, I'm coaching boxing, I'm talking about boxing, and then I come home and I watch boxing. Yeah? And it's all like live and breathe. But now, for whatever reason, the last few weeks and months, I haven't been watching any boxing, like any past fights on YouTube or anything like that. I've actually said to myself, how can I better myself? And I've decided to leave the boxing alone for 6 weeks, to have kind of a detox of it and focus on other areas. So I've been doing a lot of studying on the human body, and that side of things in terms of exercise. So I was looking at energy systems that relate to boxing the other day, you know, and I had a good
the anatomy and physiology and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because that stuff, it is, even though sometimes it can get a bit, but it's interesting to understand how the body works
100%.
In relation to your specific sport. So what type of energy system is most used for boxing? How can we make a program? How can we target that in your training out of that? Yeah. So I've been trying to study all that side of it, you know.
It is like, it's an interesting fact, and to understand that obviously we're humans before a boxer or a sprinter or a, you know, whatever athlete or discipline there is. You have to understand that we're humans first, and there's like obviously movements, primitive movements that you know, it has to come first before, you know, you get specific, you know. That's interesting to know. And it's almost some of the time away is almost a blessing in disguise, because, you know, you have a better understanding of how the body works. Yeah,
exactly. You know, because you got one thing that we've all got right now is we've got time on our hands. So there's no excuse not to broaden your knowledge, because there's a lot of stuff out there, you know, a lot of free stuff on the internet that you can use for your own personal gain, you know. So I've been doing a lot of studying on the internet. I make myself laugh, because people watching this are probably thinking, what, Coach Bobby's studying science, and studying about, but as a coach, you've got to have a basic understanding of how the body works, you know what I mean? But it's not all just about teaching the jab and the cross and how to counter punch your opponent and move your feet. But if I can explain a little bit knowledge, and also injury prevention, how to prevent injuries and why certain injuries occur, what are the most common types of injuries to watch out for, and, you know, all that sort of stuff just makes you into a better coach. So I've been doing a lot of that.
100%. Yeah, that's good to know, man. And I think all the athletes down at Afewee will definitely benefit from that, you know. Last question before we go into the Q&As. I think I've got about 10 questions for you with the Q&A.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what are your, obviously times are kind of you know, no one knows what's really going on. And as we've spoken on, what are your plans moving forward now that everything is starting to ease up a little bit?
Well, I get asked this question a lot, like what do you want to do going forward? And you know what? We just want to carry on what we've been allowed to do for the last few years, because we worked very hard to get that permanent gym within the Brixton Recreation Centre. It took me 3.5 to 4 years just to get a permanent gym. And before that, we were doing, we had a temporary space. We had to put the ring up and down. So really, I just want to continue to use that gym as a hub for the young people of the community. Yeah. So carry on the boxing sessions, but also start to run other programs. So through funding opportunities, we can do things like outreach programs, like maybe start going into estates and schools. One thing we had a plan to go into schools from September, all across the local area, because that's where I started. So kind of 5 years later, I thought, you know, I want to go back into schools now, and I want to tell my story of how we started and create a little bit of motivation for them, run them for a 6-week program, non-contact, and then bring them back to the gym. So that was in the pipeline, but obviously all this happening may have put a bit of a pause on that, but that's definitely something we look to do. And also just start to maybe target more vulnerable groups. You know, like there's a lot of young people out there that are intimidated about going into boxing gyms. You know, I was one of them when I was young. You know, walking into a boxing gym is not like walking into a normal gym sometimes, like a commercial gym. So again, if we can go out, meet them first in person so they understand who we are and they get to meet us, then they'll want to come back into the gym. So really, it's just more about recruiting young people into the gym, carrying on the work we're doing through Afewee Boxing Club, which, by the way, means for us, for the community, and building on what we started a few years ago.
That's good to know, man. I'm sure the fruits of your labor will come to fruition when you get back to the gym, when you're able to, anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's the whole center is closed, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that, anyway.
Sarah's just mentioned. Sarah's one of my one of our coaches at the club.
I think I know her. I think I met her.
Yeah, Sarah's been there. No, Sarah's been there from the beginning, man. So she's been there as long as me. So she's one of our female coaches, and she runs an all-female boxing class on a Saturday just for 11 to 16-year-old girls. And that was another thing that we just started before the lockdown. So that was all kicking off quite well as well. So we're going to look to carry all that on, build it all back up, you know? So, yeah. So everyone that's in the live right now, first, thank you for joining. But at the same time, I'm going to go through Q&As now. I think I've got about 10 questions. I'm just going to try to keep it short and sweet. But if you have any extra questions, just leave them in the comments, and we'll try to get to that. So yeah, first one: hard work versus talent. Ooh, that's a good one. Hard work versus talent. You know what? I would say I've seen hard work triumph more, in my experience, over talent. The amount of times that I've seen kids at competition and the better boxer loses because they don't want it as much, or they're not as fit, or it's not that they got less talent than the other kid. It's because their will and their desire to win that bout or to win that tournament outweighs their opponent, so they get the win. So for me, I couldn't choose one, because the reality is, as a boxer, athlete, to get to any sort of standard level, you need hard work and talent. That's the reality. But I would say never underestimate the power of just sheer hard work, man, because that's number one in any sport. Work hard first.
Especially in a sport that is like kind of skill based, where like repetition is key. Obviously, smart training over just pure hard work. But at the same time, obviously, I've trained and also trained with some super talented athletes, but they just don't want it.
They don't want it. And do you know what? That's the biggest shame. As a coach, I'm telling you, I'm sure many will agree, the biggest time we get frustrated is when the talent, the ability is there, but the hard work isn't, like the work ethic isn't behind it. So you think, do you know what? You could be so much better than you are, but you're not applying yourself. And when I have these raw conversations with them, it gives them a kick up the arse that they need. They start training again for a good few weeks, and then their mentality comes into it, and then they drop again.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying there's not. Sometimes there's distractions outside the gym, whether it be home life or the roads or anything like that. We've heard the stories, but you know what? If you want it bad enough, I always say, if you want it bad enough, you will find a way.
Of
So
course.
it doesn't matter what's going on. I understand what's going on. You can talk to me about what's going on, but you'll always find a way if you want it that bad.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, yeah, next question. How do you spot potential in an athlete?
Mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah. So for example, say if a kid walked in the gym from day one, and I always say this to them, the first thing we don't look at how well you can throw a punch, you know. We don't look at how well you can throw a jab or a cross or slip or how quick you are or how fit you are. I'm looking at, and all the coaches at the gym are all looking at how focused you are. Whether you come back, whether you train 3 times a week, because that's the standard. These are the things that we look at first in any young person or whoever wants to take it serious or not. We look at your mindset and your level of focus and commitment first.
Would you say like athletes naturally having kind of a initiative to, you know, do extra work, like come earlier, stay later, ask you for extra advice?
Yeah, you know what, the serious ones, they'll either, like you said, they'll either turn up early and they'll be the first one in, last one out, or they turn up bang on time. And you know what, everything you tell them to do, they carry it out to a T. Like, you know what, it's easy training the right type of person. If you find the right type of person, it's really easy to train them because 90% of it they do themselves. You know, when you start to feel as a coach that you have to drag it out of people, you know that you probably want it more than them, and I've had that as well. So
it's going to be a long road.
It's going to be a long road, but you don't give up on them because you believe in them. And you believe that, you know what, I've got to do everything I can to bring the best out of this person. But what I've realized now, like I said, if it's easy to coach them, then they're the right type of athlete.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, next question. What made you want to get involved with Afewee?
I heard about Afewee through a mutual friend called Tyrone.
Where were you coaching in a gym before? A different gym?
I was doing schools.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But before, that's what I was saying. Before I was even started Afewee, I was running programs in schools with another charity. So what reason I wanted to get involved with Afewee is because he rang me, said, listen, there's this place in Brixton. They're starting out a boxing gym, great bunch of people, very, very motivational, very passionate about it. Just go down there. And he actually asked me 2-3 times over the next 2-3 weeks to go down there. I was dragging my feet a little bit because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get back into it like that, like at club level and competitive level. But I'm so glad I did. And I remember the one time I went down there, I met the team who were there before me, and they've moved on now. I was like, you know what? It just, you know, it just feels right. Like the spirit felt right, the atmosphere felt right, and I stuck. So I actually started out as a volunteer. Like most coaches in boxing start out, we're all volunteers. We don't get paid to do what we do. We do it because we love the sport. We want to give back to people. So I started out as a volunteer, man, just like anyone else. And then obviously just worked my way up to where I am now, you know, as head coach of the gym, 10 plus coach volunteers, many young people, up to 50 young people walking through the doors every week across the sessions that we run. We do adult recreational sessions now. We do one-to-ones. So yeah, it's really built up. But that's how I started.
Cool. What do you feel some of the life lessons are to be learned through boxing?
I would say adapt. The ability to learn to adapt, because boxing's full of ups and downs. You know, 1 minute you win, you feel on top of the world, but when you lose, you feel like your heart's been taken out of your body. It really is a horrible feeling. So I'd say the biggest lesson that boxing's taught me and should teach you if you've boxed before or you've done things like that is learn to adapt, learn to take the good and the bad, but never forget your long-term vision. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not about what happens next week. You know, if you're in here for the long term because you want to be great, it's about where you are in a year's time, in 18 months' time. And don't get me wrong, you can't plan too far ahead in this game because that's not realistic. But don't just think for the immediate future. Think for the longer term and work towards that. And you're going to get setbacks along the way. Understand you're going to get setbacks along the way, but also understand that you're going to learn from them. It's going to be okay, and it's going to make you better. But it all comes from your will and your desire inside. So that's the biggest thing boxing's taught me, is learn to adapt, learn to take the good with the bad, and just keep moving.
Yeah, I think, one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned is obviously failure and setbacks are part of the process. Even though it's
100%.
hard, it's hard to take. As you said, it feels like the heart is like being taken from you.
Yeah.
Because you have potential, you know, you train hard, and then all of a sudden you lose or you get injured.
Yeah.
Your whole world comes crashing down. But
yeah, you feel like you're almost starting again.
Yeah.
But and it's sometimes you've got to really speak to the athlete. That's where the coach comes in as the motivator and the psychologist, because it's not about being the coach for that moment. Now it's a case of, all right, you've had a setback, you've lost, but look at where you are. Don't look at what's just happened yet. And I know it's raw. To be honest, you've got to give him a few days to get over it. There's no point talking to him straight away anyway. If someone takes a loss or a setback, give them a bit of time. But when that's over, remind them who they are, where they've come to, and where they're going.
Yeah.
And that's really important. And 9 times out of 10, look at the bigger picture. And if you're serious and you've got the right mindset and you're positive, they'll carry on. You know, but very few will carry on. Saying that, many boxers drop out after a few bouts. You know what I mean? Because the mentally tough, physically tough. It's a very, very hard sport. So the ones that you see at national level, forget even pros, at amateur level, you know, huge respect to them, because, even though I'm a coach, I admire boxers still because of the fact that they put in so much and have to deal with so much to get where they want to get to.
Yeah, especially at that pro level, when you have, like, you know, you don't only have your own troubles, but you're sharing it with the whole world, and you have everyone's opinion. You know, it's a different level.
Different level.
The whole world is watching.
Yeah.
But next one. How important do you feel boxing is for the community?
I feel like any program or any organization that's designed to fit young people and to benefit young people, and that's serious as well, because it can't just be a program that's over after 10 weeks. It's got to be a serious program with a bit of discipline, a bit of structure. The coaches got to be serious about what they do, whether it's voluntary or not. I think any type of program, whether it's boxing or not, is beneficial, because a lot of the time, kids nowadays, they don't get what they need from school in terms of inspiration or motivation or anything like that. The teacher's got a job to do, and I think they do a great job. But I think a lot of the times now, kids need more, you know, because it's getting harder to attract kids to be active. And I know I talk about young people a lot because that's really where my field is and who I work with. It's difficult. So you've got to do everything you can in your power to motivate, inspire, but also give them a program that is serious and that they can see, do you know what, if I do work hard and I'm serious about this, these are the right people for me, because they're going to take me to where I want to get to. And for me, that's been the biggest realization for Afewee, is that we were serious from the start. And a lot of people don't know about the gym still because we're quite new. It takes years to build up your reputation. But one thing that they know, when they come to a session, they know, you know, that the coaches are there for them. And they're approachable, but they're also there because they're trying to do something constructive for them as well, and provides a clear pathway for them.
Yeah, there's something about that kind of that genuine energy that you put out there. Like you actually want, you know, to improve someone's life.
Yeah, you want to see them do well.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of the time, sometimes you might turn up to a program or an activity and you think, I'm not sure what's going on here. And you can kind of tell the spirit and the passion ain't really there, like, if we're being honest. But I'm telling you, like, the young person can also pick up on that. So you've got to show them that, do you know what? Sometimes I may be tough. Sometimes we may have to go down that road, but it's for your benefit. Like, I'm doing this for you. So we don't let them just come and do what they want. There's a structure to what we do, and there's a reason behind what we're doing. So any organisation that has that type of setup and that mentality, I think, you know, all credit to them. Yeah, man, community. Definitely.
Any organisation that's trying to make a positive change, I guess.
100%.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think this is another good one. What do you value more, experience or knowledge?
That's a good question. Do you know what? I'll be honest. What you mean specifically in this sport, or just in general in this sport? You can't.
Specific. Let's go specific.
Yeah, okay. In boxing, the reality is, as a coach or as a boxer, there's one thing that you can't teach and can't buy, and that is experience. You know, especially as a coach. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to show you a quick story here. As my first time, I went to a show as a competitive coach. I was 25 years old. That's quite young for a coach. I did not know, Steph, what the hell I was doing. I'll tell you the truth, yeah? And I think the person that my boxer that I took to that show, I think he's actually in this chat, so he might be listening. I didn't know what was going on, yeah? I didn't know what the protocol was. When you go to a show, you've got to weigh the boxer in, you've got to see the doctor, you've got to wait for the bout list to be produced and everything else. I've never done any of that before, bear in mind, yeah? And in boxing, there's no one that's going to take you by the hand and show you these things. Do you understand? Like, you've got to work it out. And some people are lucky. Some young coaches coming up are lucky where they might get to work in a gym where, I don't know, their dad started the gym, or there was other coaches at the gym where they could learn off. Remember, we started Afewee. So we created it. Yeah, so everything we had to do, we had to learn, and I had to learn myself. So I look back on that even now, 5 years later, and I think, wow, and I still use that. Do you know what I mean? Now, so when I see other coaches struggling, or people that may not know what's going on, or not too sure they're new coaches, I'm the first one to go up to them and to help them, because the way I got made to feel that day as well, like, it weren't nice. So I'll definitely say experience. The reality is experience is a big thing. You can think you've got all the knowledge in the world as a coach and watch as many YouTube bouts as you want and fights and know all about the history of boxing. That's all good. That might help you in a pub quiz, but when you're on you know, in front of the lights, and you've got a boxer who's relying on you, and you're at a national tournament or a national championship,
I feel like you're fighting at the same time.
Yeah, you feel like you're fighting them as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of feelings going on. So as the years have progressed, now I've been there and I've done it now. You start to become a lot more confident. So I'll probably say experience in boxing is a big thing. But you know, knowledge never stops anyway. You never stop learning. So knowledge is. I mean,
like, knowledge is a bunch of words, and unless you know how to put it into action, you know, you can know everything, but if you don't know how to put it into play,
exactly,
come up with a practical plan, it's just a bunch of words, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll fake it till you make it. I don't know about who said these questions. Wow. Yeah. Top coach Bobby Hassim. What's going on, brother?
Do you feel the whole? I got two questions on my own from that question. Do you feel as a whole, like the whole process of amateur boxing, the whole process needs to be more accessible and more visible? Like, because you went there and you didn't really know what to do. Do you feel that, especially with new coaches, do you feel that the whole process of getting someone from wherever they're training to about, you feel that the guidelines should be clearer?
It's a difficult one, because I see it from the other side as well, because as well as a coach, I'm also a coach educator for England Boxing. So I actually help to qualify other coaches now. And so I know exactly what the course entails and the syllabus. And the reality is, my best piece of advice for new coaches that are starting out, who haven't got anyone to learn from, and it may not be many, most people, like I said, they're attached to clubs where they've got coaches in their clubs that have been doing it for years. So that problem doesn't exist for most coaches. But it existed for me because I didn't have that person to learn off, because, like I said, we started the gym ourselves. But I think anyone who is a new coach and hasn't got someone to learn off, who's creating a gym, and I've known them over the years, it'd be good for them to talk to be able to pick up the phone, because that's what would have helped me. I'm not saying I need you to take my hand and show me I like to work things out for myself, but if there was someone to talk to, that would be quite good. You know, someone who's been there before, you can pick the phone up to and say, listen, when I go to my first show, what's the protocol? What should I expect? And without being judged or anything like that. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. So you feel that, obviously, as a new coach that's trying to get qualified and everything else, that they would get introduced to the process if they took that course?
Exactly, yeah. I think if you took the course now, the course has changed recently. It's a lot better. So the level 1, if you wanted to become a boxing coach, amateur boxing coach, you do a level 1 course. You may see me as your instructor, But you would learn a lot more
Yeah.
now because
Especially
it's a
from
lot more
someone that's been there
comprehensive.
from ground up as well.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is storytelling and sharing stories that are going to apply to them. Before it was just about teaching them how to teach someone how to box, like how to throw a jab and a cross. But now they realize obviously coaching is so much more than that. You're not just teaching them how to throw punches. You got to understand that you're also maybe a mentor. You may be a role model to them. You may be an uncle figure or a father figure. You got to understand about nutrition, about safeguarding, about health and safety within boxing. So now the courses, they involve all of that for amateur boxing. So the courses are really, really good. I do speak highly of them, not just because I'm involved with them, but I feel like if you did it, you get all the tools you need to. But then I say to them, listen, don't think once you get the course done and you receive your certificate, understand that you got to have experience. So go back to your clubs, work alongside your coaches, ask them questions, go to shows with your coaches that have done it before so you can learn the ropes that way. That's the best way to do it,
Yeah. The second question from that was, obviously you mentioned that you were involved in the process of Afewee from starting from ground up. What was the initial plan for Afewee? Was it just to get the community involved in something positive, or was it to actually get people competing at that time?
It was always to be a competitive club with our own space from the outset. Okay. So we knew from day one what we wanted, and I'll tell you, that's what I'm saying. Like as a person, have a goal and a vision in your mind, and don't change it for no one, because the amount of hurdles that we had to go through over 3.5 years to get a permanent boxing gym just to benefit the community alone, it was really, really tough, and we had to be really patient and keep going and keep on at them. And eventually it became true. So our vision was to always have a boxing club, an amateur boxing club for young people, specifically in the Brixton area, in the heart of Brixton, and be a competitive club. But it's not just about the ones that want to compete. Like I said to you, 90% of kids that come to us don't compete, but there's still somewhere they can come where they can follow a program to learn boxing and obviously benefit as a character through the sport as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, obviously that's a good question to lead off from now. How can someone get involved, whether it be a junior or a senior?
Literally, just find your local amateur club. You can go on Google, type in, find it on Google. Make sure that the club you go and see it first. Go and visit the club first. And just get involved. So just find your local amateur club. Make sure they're affiliated to England Boxing, who's the national governing body. That's if you want to compete. If you don't want to compete, it's not a problem. You can still turn up anyway. Go and speak to the coaches and just tell them what you want. Tell them what you're after. And they should welcome you. If they're a real boxing club, obviously, that are there for the community, they'll welcome you with open arms. They'll tell you when they run their sessions. They'll tell you when they expect to see you, and you go from there.
Cool. So yeah, advice, I think we've partly mentioned it, but advice for up and coming coaches.
Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and try and get as much experience as you can. What I'd say is, like I said, get yourself on a course, but I'd even say like before you go on a course, there's nothing wrong with, you can go to a gym as a coach and still offer the gym help. You know what I mean? Because bear in mind, a lot of amateur gyms they're always looking for coaches. So I'll just say shadow, try and get as much experience as you can and learn off respected coaches that are already doing the job.
Yeah, I think shadowing is 100% a great thing to do, especially learning off someone that knows what they're doing. But yeah, second last question. How old were you when you first started coaching competitively?
I was 25. So I'm 30 now. So I've been coaching competitively for 5 years. But you learn every year in boxing feels like about 10 years. So it's a long road, man. But you learn a lot. You learn a lot as a coach going. And I'm glad the way I did it as well. I did it the hard way, but I'm glad because, like I said, didn't have no one to sort of bounce off and ask questions to and sort of learn off that way in terms of competitive coaching. It was all through what I learned going through the process. But I wouldn't change that for the world, because that's put me in good stead now, I believe. And I've learned a lot. So that's what I'll say. I was 25 years old, so I've been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah. Last question before I go in through the comments. Why boxing? What gave you the passion to get started? Why boxing? Why not football? Why not another sport?
Well, you know what? Like many young people in schools, I started playing football, not at any serious level, but I enjoyed football. I was a big Arsenal supporter. That was my thing throughout primary school and even secondary school. When I started growing up a little bit throughout secondary school, like I said, my uncle was an amateur heavyweight boxer. I think he had about 15 bouts, and I decided to train with him one day. And literally, it was just simple as that. Like, once I discovered boxing and I tried it out, I was just hooked on it. And then from there, when I got into coaching, that was a different pathway. But then I realized that I enjoyed that even more. And, you know, I'm a better coach than I was a boxer. So they call it a boxing bug, Steph. So once you get the boxing bug, it doesn't really go away. And that's what I definitely feel like I've got that.
I mean, you had that, you're almost kind of exposed to it, and you had that figurehead. That was an example, you know what I mean? So, and it was obviously in the family. So I guess, you know, it had to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it that way. Yeah, he did what he did, but he never coached. He boxed. He never coached. But it'd be good, like when he sees what I'm doing now, I don't think he can really believe it still. You know what I mean? But because it's like taken to another level.
Yeah.
So like
different time.
Like obviously with my own a gym that I manage and stuff like that, and boxers that I work closely with. It's like sometimes when you're starting something out, or you introduce something to someone, you don't think they're going to take it to the level they're going to take it to. So imagine the impact it had on me as a kid. So imagine now us as elders, if we can share those things with other young people where they could take certain things. You know, it doesn't have to be boxing, but if you take someone else and explain something to them or show them something, you know, sometimes it just sticks with them and it doesn't go away, and then they go on to progress from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to go in through the comments and see what we can find. I know Sarah said that you should mention that we have a lot of kids with special needs too, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
Do you want to go over that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're an all-inclusive gym. So anyone can walk through our doors, basically, whether from 5 years upwards, you know, all-inclusive. So when you're training kids, you're always going to get mixed abilities, different backgrounds and everything else. So what we do, we mix them in with other kids, and we all train together, and we all help each other. All the kids are encouraged to train with different people throughout different drills. And it's good because you see the impact it has on someone who's a kid that might be autistic or have learning difficulties or anger management problems. It's not always easy to spot, and you're not always told about it straight away. But you start to learn how to spot the signs and stuff like that. You know, so sometimes you might have to take a different approach, but ultimately we just get everyone in, train them together, and make sure that we try and speak to everyone individually as much as we can.
Cool. Another one from Amin. What was your dream job? Did you also aim to be a coach?
Nah. Nah. That's what makes me laugh sometimes. Like we were saying earlier about sometimes life takes you in different directions to what you 100%. Thought. Yeah, and that's what happened to me. You know, when I started coaching in my early 20s in schools, I started to think, you know what? Like, this is for me. Like, I think I'm enjoying this, and then got involved with Afewee Boxing Club. Now, at 30 years old, I know what my path is. I know what I want to do, and I think there's still people out there that might not know what they want to do. But for me, I've always found it helpful that I know this is my path, man. I enjoy it. I can't see myself going back to imagine me doing a 9 to 5 in the office. I couldn't go back to that life, like that working life. I think when you work hard to get to somewhere you want to get to, you got to make the most out of it and not stop there either. You got to keep pushing, because one of my fears in life, and I don't say this often, but my fear is actually having to sort of answer to someone. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't like it. Like, don't get me wrong. There's people out there that have a 9 to 5. Listen, we've all got to do what we've got to do. There's absolutely no problem with that. But for me, I just couldn't imagine going back to a place where, you know, you're just another employee. Like, I want to make an impact. Do you see what I'm saying? I want to make an impact in my own way on the people that decide to be around me. So if I'm in a position where I can do that now, I'm gonna stay there. You know.
Yeah. The next one, I think we all know who Nye is. What is the best type of atmosphere for a healthy boxing gym?
One where everyone gets on with everyone. There's no. Sometimes you go into gyms and you can see there's certain egos and mentalities where we make it very clear we've never had that, and if we do have that, we sort it out where, you know, no one's got an ego, no one's bigger or better than the gym. So it's important that all your coaches get on as much as possible, that everyone understands that not one person is right. Sometimes other people are going to have their own views. Decisions have to be made, but, you know, one that's transparent, you know what I'm saying? One where people talk to people, everyone, there's no subsections, there's no segregation within a gym, and that all that does happen. So just being open, being honest, being transparent, talking to your team and your boxers is the best way forward for a healthy atmosphere. You know?
Nice. You should have just said Afewee.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of good gyms out there. A lot of people may not realise it, but we're quite lucky in London where there's amateur gyms all over the place, honestly. So you shouldn't struggle to find a good gym, you know?
Yeah. And I think last one, what do you think about hard sparring, and do you feel it's necessary?
I think there's a time and a place. I think there's a problem when all the time, if you're just doing what we call open sparring every single session, then that's not the best way to learn. So at England, they got a thing where they're called constraints, or they might call it conditioned sparring, where conditioned sparring is where you put a condition on the spar. So if you notice an athlete or a boxer has got something in particular to work on, you might give them a specific drill in sparring where they can only work on that to try and bring that out of them. Because if you're open sparring all the time, the problem with that is obviously you're taking punches, but also you're not thinking about the areas that you need to improve. You know, you're just going in there and you're just doing what you always know works well.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to work on the things that you don't do so well by putting a condition or a constraint on it, what we call conditioned sparring, and learning that way, or technical sparring. There's plenty of different ways where you can bring out your strengths and learn. But there is also a time, going on the other side of it now, to do an open hard spar, you know, because you need that for the pace and the intensity and the timing. So you need to be, it's a mixture, but I'd say you need to get the balance right, and you need to understand it's not just about one type of training method. You know, there's different types.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've taught anyone, but I dabbled in boxing like years and years ago when I was younger. And obviously, you know, I think going back to having a hard spar and everything, I think it's important to know what it's like to actually get punched in the face.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, because when that time comes, it's a shock to the system, to be honest. But when would you instead of breaking a spar down, when would you run a hard spar?
So, say for instance they got a tournament or a championship coming up, and you know they need to be open sparring in the build up to that tournament. But what I would say is there's a cut-off point. Do you understand? And the cut-off point is anything from sometimes up to 2 weeks before. Some coaches 10 days before. I like them to have their last hard spar at least 7 to 10 days before. After that, it's just a case of keeping sharp, doing a little bit of light tech work. Do you see what I'm saying? But the weeks prior to that, the good few weeks, 2-3 weeks prior to that, they can mix it up in open sparring. They need to be sparring different opponents as well, maybe even traveling to different gyms. Because the problem, if you stay in your own gym too much, what happens is you get comfortable. You get comfortable because it's your home gym, it's your atmosphere. So traveling around to different gyms, just to give you that same sort of feeling of of what it's like when you go to competition, because you're in another venue at competition. So yeah, there's a cut-off point, there's a taper down period, there's a time for open sparring, but I'd definitely say 7 to 10 days before a tournament, nothing too heavy on.
Man, sorry about that. I didn't know there was a cut-off point on the live. Let me try and get Bobby back in. Hold on. Didn't even know there was a cut-off point.
Cut-off point, yeah?
I didn't even know there was, a cut-off point.
Do you know what? Is it an hour? I think it's an hour, isn't it? I didn't even know that.
I think I can remember what we were talking about, but if people didn't know, then post it up. Is AJ a good boxer or a good businessman?
I think both.
Both?
Both, yeah, because see, the thing about Anthony Joshua's, remember, this guy started boxing at 18.
Mm-hmm.
So to see what he's done from 18, went to Olympics 4 years later, and now world champion by the age of 30, you can't doubt what he's done. So as a boxer, he's beaten some good kids out there as well. Businessman, well, when you got the look and the attributes he's got, I think everything is there tailored for you. So he's got a team around him that look after him and that do everything for him. So I'd say both.
Yeah, man, that was it cut off, and I don't know if I posted it, but I wanted to save it. But I think I can't thank you enough. That was a great talk. I think where I'm trying to take the talk is I want to go on to podcasts, and I want to actually have interviews 1-to-1 with people like we're doing now, but in person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be hosting these lives every weekend with someone different until we're out of quarantine and we can actually meet people and do stuff. But I'll definitely get you back on, because I think there's a lot more to be said and to talk about.
Yeah, but it's been enjoyable, man. It's nice to talk to someone about, like I said, a time like this. It's makes it so much more enjoyable talking to someone about what you think you're good at and what you're passionate about, and the fact that we've been able to talk about Afewee Boxing Club and what we do at the gym and the young people, and some detailed questions on the sport. Hopefully it's inspired 1 or 2 people. But yeah, or just provided a bit of good listening.
Yeah.
But how are you?
Definitely need to get another one done.
Yeah, because like we're just going and people are all coming back now. What's going on?
Yeah, I know. People seem to like what we're doing, but yeah, I'll try and save it. I'll try and post it up either on Insta or YouTube. But yeah, what were we gonna say?
No, I was going to say it'd be good to get you back involved again, because Stefan's background is, he's a very good S&C coach and really understands about the body and how to get the best out of it for specific type of athletes. And for a while, you were working with the boxers, weren't you?
Yeah.
Until you had to move. So
yeah. Hopefully, I live in Essex now, in Chelmsford. Okay. So I still travel down to train athletes, and I was at a period of time when I first moved. But I do plan to actually move back at some point. Okay. So when that time comes, I'm there. I'm there, because I've really enjoyed it and enjoyed being part of the process of building something pure, something real, rather than doing it for the sake of it or for the money or whatever else. It's 100%.
100%. That's what it is. That's what we call the Afewee spirit. It's just anyone that comes down there, as long as you're here to better yourself in any way, we can work with you. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, or what your ability is. If you want to better yourself, get involved. Hide in that quarantine.
You know what? People have gone from asking questions to taking a myth.
I know. We both got hats on. That's why. I didn't know you were going to wear a hat as well.
We look like brothers right now, wearing the same stuff.
You know what's going on under this right now? I can't show anyone.
The world cannot witness this right now. It's not good.
Are you getting grey hair as well? Or is it just me on the sides?
I don't know. I think that's just you.
Just me.
I get one or two here and there, but you know.
Yeah, mine's quite bad, man. I'm just hoping this is over soon. Sorry, asked a question about volunteering.
What was your question, Ignite Strength?
Sorry, we got cut off before, so.
Is there sparring from 52 kg to 60 kg at your gym?
Coach, is there sparring from 62? Yes, champ, get involved. DM me and bring a coach down. How's Steve as well? I hope Steve's well, man. But yeah, you're welcome down. I'm sure we can sort something out and things are back to normal.
That's good. Just through one talk, you have someone who, you know, wants to get involved. That's great.
100%. And he's a talented boxer, that kid as well. And I've seen him a few times on the circuit. He's sharp, man. Sharp kid, that one.
I see him. Get involved, man. Get involved. DM him. This is mad. Someone wants to volunteer with you.
I sent a question, volunteer. Yes, you did. I think that was a while back, wasn't it? I'll tell you what, get in touch, DM me, and we'll definitely talk. Sorry if I missed out on that question last time you sent it, but send it again and we'll talk. We're always looking for volunteers to get involved, so you're more than welcome.
Cool. I'll leave it there. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
All right, brother.
We definitely need to do this again. But yeah, thank you very much for doing this, bro.
No problem, brother. Speak to you soon, yeah?
Speak to you soon, man. Take care.
Oh, take care, bye.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for getting involved, supporting, asking questions, you know. As I said, I'm looking to do this every weekend. Have someone different on every weekend, as I believe, you know, you can learn something from everyone. It will all be athlete related. So, yeah. Also, if you want me to do another talk with Bobby, just let me know and we'll make it happen. Other than that, I'll try and post this whole video. I know it cut out, but yeah, I'll try and get it back somehow. Thank you.